If you had sex with somebody, that meant you married them in that time. If you had sex with them, that meant you married them. You took on that responsibility. Amnon is the first person we hear about that has sex with a woman and does not want to take them into his life. He had sex with Tamar, but did not want to take Tamar into his life. But in the Bible, when you had sex with someone, that was covenant binding. So he had two wives, and each wife had a handmaid, right? But in the end, when he's talking to Reuben, you see him tell Reuben, he says, "But you slept with my concubine." They were handmaids. When Laban gave them to the two women, right? They were Zilpah and Bilhah. They're the wives' servants, right? But when the wives got married, Laban didn't give them any money. What Laban did was he gave them access to their own servants. These were already their servants, but because the women were living there as wives, and the women were going to leave when Jacob left, he said, "You can have them, take them with you." They won't let him take anything with them except his idols. So Rachel took the idol. A lot of stuff happened, right? Rachel ended up in the grave. A lot of stuff happened on the way back. Rachel died in the land of bread. She died in Bethlehem, right? She died in the land of bread. This doesn't make sense to me. They get back, right? Jacob gets back, but they come to, right, the promised land. No giants in the land, no fight for the land. That hasn't happened yet. If I'm in the promised land and God used it as promise, God told me to come there, right? There was a reason why God told him, get up and go there. My thing is, I think he knew a famine was coming. So get up and go there, right? I'm promised. I'm a child of God. This is why I said these people they don't know who God is. You don't know what you got to do about it, right? Because God took care of Jacob. He said, get up and go back to where I promised your fathers to be, right? So he went back to Canaan in the famine and started starving. Why? How do I starve and promise? Jacob was part already. He was half So he married wives that were full-blown And you wonder why your kids came out crazy? You call them Israelite just by a tiny light that's inside of them. They got a little tiny bit of Israel in them. And then God talks to Jacob, renews his name, changes his name, and now he's full-blown Israel. But you're still married to 4 So your kids are going to be just as confused as you were when they come out. They don't know what to do and how to handle things. Do I give my life over to God, right? Or do I make it happen? If I know God says he's going to do something, do I make it happen? Is he God or is he a cripple, right? Can God's arm stretch and hit feet? Is he God or is he a cripple? So Jacob is in what is the promised land, and they're starving. I said that's a bold-faced lie. He's walking around in what is the promised land. He's living there. Because Abraham, Isaac, and then he was sent to go to Laban land, which is And then God told him to come back. Why would God send me somewhere where there is lack, where there is nothing, right? I said they weren't planting. They weren't planting. It's something they weren't doing. Because when everybody else, I'm telling you, this is me. When everybody else lacks, I always flourish. And generally, it's so that I could tell people that don't look at me, look at God. This is what God did for me. I didn't do anything to have this happen. This is what God Himself reached down, because I'm down low. I promise you, He reached down and He did it for me. I'm never, ever without what I need, ever. And then if I don't have it, I have Pastor David, and I have Pastor Tim, and I have my pastors, and I have my friends at my church. I can get help to get it. I'm being equipped, right? So that I can drink. Instead of people watering me, right? Then the Pastor David's teaching me how to drink. Water's in your house, Jamie, drink. You got paint and drink there, drink. You got your poetry, drink. Living water's right there in the Bible, drink. You can pray, drink. You got church on Sunday, drink. When the family came in, they got up and left. But God blessed that land. That was blessed. Abraham was sent there. Isaac sat there. And when Jacob left, he was told, come back and sit back in that land. That land is blessed. How could that land be feminized? Y'all can go through stuff, but I'm not going to go through it. Why? Because of the fact that I'm going to have exactly what I need so I can hand it out. How do I support this? Because Joseph was in Egypt. Joseph was their blessing because they didn't like his dreams, right? And who he was. Joseph was their blessing, so they sent him away. Joseph was supposed to be in that land. So when the time came for the famine, they would have had, because they had Joseph, they would have had exactly what they need, and they would have been selling food to everybody. Instead, they're going and buying food from slavery. You sent Joseph into slavery, so now you got to go to slavery and get what you need. And Joseph, think about the story. If Joseph had been there, he's a dreamer, he's a prophet. If Joseph had been there, he could have helped them. They would not have been hungry. But they sent away their blessing because it looked like a burden. Also, I'm saying be a blessing to those people that are not in the faith, right? They don't know where they're at. The Chaldeans we hear were really nasty people, but the of the Chaldeans, they worship sun, they worship anything. Pick up a rock and worship it. There's no allegiance in their worship. The problem I have with Jacob, if people say, "Oh, Joseph is the best. He's the best. That's the best," maybe in your mind, but I'm not. I'm not a Josephian. I'm a Christian, right? I don't worship Joseph. I'm not Josephian. When Jacob went back to, I looked up. Jacob went back to Joseph. When Jacob went back to go, he went to meet Joseph in Egypt, right? We find a Joseph that's not newly married, but not married for 20 years. He's married. Because if we really look at it, Rachel, Joseph's mother, was full-blown Jacob, when they got together, was and Israelite. So you have Israelite and right, mating with So God said, don't be with them. They will cause you to worship their idols. Rachel left with a Laban's idols underneath her skirt. So now we come across a Joseph, right, who's anointed by God. He's a prophet, but he's Israelite and and his wife is Egyptian. They mate. and they get Martians. I don't know. Ephraim and Manasseh. The wife's name was Asenath, right? We already talked about how the Pharaoh, right? He called himself God and he renamed Joseph. Like the name that Joseph got from God wasn't enough. He renamed Joseph and said, "Your name is now." He put a ring on Joseph's finger and changed his name. Your name is now Zaphanath. I make fun of it, but he really says Zaphaniah or Zaphaneth, Benaiah. I don't know. He whatever. Stupid. All of it. Joseph had a name. His name was Joseph Israelite. Why you gotta change his name? He was all right. In order for him to work for you, you gotta give him a ring and change his name. That's a marriage. You enter, and the thing is, Pastor Keith was like, Jimmy, you gotta understand times of times. I understand that. When we get somebody a ring and change their name, spiritually something happens. That is marriage. That is covenantal marriage. You don't give my spirit a new name and change its name. Why? Because nobody knows my spirit's name. It's written on a rock in heaven. But you don't come to me and marry my spirit and give my spirit a new name and then put a ring on my spirit. You do it on me naturally. So anytime a name change happens and a ring appears naturally, then something happens in the spirit. And now we are connected, right? What about nationality are you taking on? You're already an Israelite marrying an Egyptian. Instead, you bring that Egyptian over to know who God is. The Egyptian brought you over to Pharaoh, or Pharaoh found you, right? And he changed your name. He made you full-blown Egyptian. Asenath, his wife, we don't hear anything bad about her. We don't hear about her doing anything bad, right? Because remember when Joseph first got there, he was in chains, but then he was taken to Potiphar's house. So he's taken to Potiphar's house, right? So he starts working, and Potiphar puts him in charge of stuff. So now he's running Potiphar's house. He's not just working in the house. Potiphar has wisdom. So Potiphar realized that this man has wisdom. So he put this man in charge of everything in his house. If Potiphar had kept his mouth shut, his house would have flourished, and he would have had everything he needed to take stuff and sell it during the famine. Because he would have had Joseph there. Keep your mouth shut. When Joseph said he ain't do it, he ain't do it. All he had seen from Joseph was integrity. But then you hear your wife. You hear your wife say what she said to you, right?